When it comes to the various breeds of chicken, heritage or otherwise, there are thousands of breeds in the world. They can be working animals that are supplying you with produce, or they can be ornamental, big and small, ugly or beautiful. Heritage breeds will always offer the most unique-looking and well-rounded animals that you can ask for. What distinguishes heritage breeds, no matter what the animal is that they need to have been in existence for at least 50 years. They usually hold cultural and historical importance. They were selectively bred and fine-tuned over generations to enhance certain traits that made them suited to specific environments. When we look at our modern breeds, they were bred into existence very, very fast, and their sole purpose is production. But that fast, maturing rate, ridiculous birthing numbers, and high production yields come at a price. They aren't nearly as long-lived as their heritage counterparts, they have very little disease resistance, and they just don't produce products that are as high quality as the heritage breeds do. And that holds true across the board. Pigs, chickens, cows, you name it. The older livestock breeds will always reign supreme when it comes to quality and health. So let's jump right in and start off with the most common heritage breeds that have been producing for us for hundreds of years. The three most common heritage breeds are tied for first place. The Black Australorp, Jersey Giant, and Rhode Island Red each number between 2 to 3 million in the US alone. And quite frankly, there are so many of them that it's impossible to take a proper census. And the reasons for their popularity are very clear. They all fall in the large breeds, meaning that they have the highest slaughter weight, averaging 12 pounds for the roosters, and they're all excellent layers. The Australorp is the most prolific, with more than 300 eggs a year. The Rhode Island Red and the Jersey Giant aren't far behind with 280 eggs annually. All three breeds were defined in the early 19th century. Spurred by the Industrial Revolution, there was a global race to develop the largest and most productive livestock to compete with the rise in demand. And these three beauties rose to the top of the food chain the moment they came onto the scene. The Jersey Giant and Rhode Island Red were bred on American soil, and they were named after the states that they hailed from. And the Australorp is an Australian chicken. For three very distinct breeds, they sure have a lot in common when you look at their statistics. All are hardy, good foragers, and have good track records with fertility and raising their young. The Australorp is a little more temperamental, but not so much that they are problematic to have around. These three are found all over Europe in large numbers, but the Europeans have kept their main productive chickens to their own historical breeds. The Leghorns and White Sussex chickens number the highest on that side of the ocean. They too are dual-purpose breeds, though they are a little smaller than the large American and Australian frontrunners. But they are also better adapted to the colder winters in Europe and Great Britain. And finally, coming in third are the Plymouth Rock and Wyandotte breeds. Wyandottes are very striking birds. They were developed in the Americas specifically to handle the cold weather up north. They are noisy, domineering, and quite a handful to keep up with, but they make up for their feisty nature with good egg-laying rates, and they are a perfectly serviceable meat chicken too. Plymouths gained popularity in the Second World War when homes were encouraged to keep victory gardens to lessen the burden of short supplies. Growing vegetables and keeping chickens were actively supported by the government, and Plymouths were the perfect chicken to keep in the yard. Hens are very prolific layers, coming in second only to the Australorp and Rhode Island Reds. They fare well in most conditions, and they don't have any serious medical conditions that weigh them down. All five of the most common heritage breeds do well on homesteads and small holdings, as free-range chickens and in coops. They all number in the millions. Those numbers reflect just how incredibly serviceable they are, no matter what the environment and conditions are. And now, we take a look at the rarest and sometimes rather unusual chickens across the globe. Most of these birds don't have a place on the production line, but they certainly deserve praise simply because they are ancient and unique. This long-legged little bird was originally bred to serve in the cockfighting ring. When the deplorable sport finally went out of style, they were bred to be smaller, longer-legged, and more refined, and so we ended up with a chicken that is just a showstopper at poultry shows. They aren't the best egg layers, nor do they have enough meat on them to be meat birds at all, but they do make fantastic pets. Unusually curious and affectionate, the modern game is adorable and highly sought after by collectors and show bird enthusiasts. The famous dragon chicken from Vietnam is a strange bird, to say the least, but they have deep roots in their homeland, with many believing that they bring good fortune and health to their owners. Their meat is a delicacy, and they even lay a decent amount of eggs for their size. Though they are perfectly fertile and hens make good mothers, those large fleshy legs are the main reason that their populations are struggling. Hens have a tendency to crush their own eggs, and very few chicks make it out of their shell. But there are active steps being taken to incubate their eggs, and proper registries have been set up to monitor the centuries-old breed that was once exclusively kept for the royal family. This Japanese marvel is considered a national treasure. The onagadori is so rare and prized that the Japanese have banned all exports of them or their eggs outside of the country. But this critically endangered chicken has a lot of support behind it. Japan is putting in every ounce of effort that it can to bring them back from the brink. In less than 5 years, they went from a measly 250 registered chickens up to 1,000. Things are looking up for this majestic bird. Black Minorcas come from Spain and were originally intended to be a working chicken. Though they aren't the largest chickens, they can still deliver a good 6 pounds for a rooster, and they lay a decent amount of eggs, around 1 egg every 2 days. Their average yields just couldn't compete with other breeds, and they quickly faded out of the industry. But their striking appearance was what kept them hanging on for so long. Right now, they are valued for their unusual features and their rarity as snowbirds, even though they can be perfectly serviceable on a small-scale farm, if there were ever enough of them, that is. But even with the efforts between Italian universities to get this historic breed back from its critical status, they will most likely be reserved for hobby farms and show bird purposes in the future. Derbyshires were intended to be a dual-purpose breed, and they did serve their purpose well for a few years, but they were just outcompeted by other chickens that were bigger and that laid more prolifically. Sadly, the Derbyshire was just phased out of use. But those distinctive fleshy caps on their heads are valued greatly on the show scene, and the English are determined to keep this heritage breed from dying out. But the reality is that their efforts might just be too little, too late. Only time will tell for the Derbyshire. Have you ever kept a few of the most common chicken breeds on our list, or are you more interested in the rare birds of the world? Let us know in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe before you leave, so you can catch every upload from us. See you next week. Cheers.